Hi, in this episode of Celebrating Small Family Businesses, we're going to talk to each other about our own small family business so that you get a little sense of our history and potentially some of the challenges that we've faced. We'll see where it goes.
Well, and this is John's, about John's family, because we've already done mine. So if you haven't seen mine.
Yes, refer to another episode
Right.
where we talk about Connie's family business history.
Right. A little bit of it. We'll probably catch. This may be an ongoing thing because, we've had a lot of time.
A lot of years together.
A lot of years together and a lot of years being alive and in business. And a lot of family drama.
Yeah.
A lot of family drama.
Okay. So,
John.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me about your family. How did you get involved with this whole thing to begin with? And what, and maybe more the impetus. What was the impetus for Kuder Consulting Group? Because you're actually the key behind this.
Okay.
Let's go with that one first.
That's an unexpected question. Thank you. Kuder Consulting Group is a reboot. So I almost feel like I'm putting the cart before the horse when we're going to talk about family business history, but the more recent history is had to close down the family business. I was the third generation, and it wasn't sustainable in the conditions that we had to work in and our assets and so forth. So it was reinvent and reboot. And so Kuder Consulting Group is intended to, the impetus behind it is to be able to help other people, other family businesses, not do what we did, not have the pain, the struggles, and the ultimate result of closing down the family business that we did.
Well, so how did your family get involved with this family business? I mean,
okay, now we're talking about my grandfather at this point. He was the one of three brothers that lived on a family farm in central Ohio, outside Akron. Anyway, Akron, Ohio.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting that our families are only like 3 hours, 2.5 hours apart from each other geographically.
Yeah. And I don't really know much about the farm. I just know it was a farm in Ohio. I feel like when I talk about my family business, especially about my grandfather, and often about, before I got there, it's sort of like looking through a photo album of snapshots, because what I have are snapshots, little stories that I was told that give me just a glimpse of that moment, but I don't have any continuity, between the snapshots sometimes. So he was one of three brothers, and his father, he must have done well because his two other brothers, he was the youngest, his two older brothers, their college was paid for.
Wow.
And they both blew it. They both flunked out. So when my grandfather came along, his father said, "I'm not paying for your college."
Wow.
Yeah, he'd been burned twice and he wasn't going to do it again. So the outcome of that was that he worked his way through college, and he waited tables, and he might have done some things that were less
savory.
less savory, but he had to scrap. He had to get scrappy to pay his way. But I'm guessing he valued it more because of that.
Right.
And he went to Michigan State, so it was an agricultural university. And he came from agriculture, and then somehow later he was selling shovel handles, I believe, and he was dating my grandmother. His father asked him to go to California and investigate this piece of property that he'd somehow inherited. Again, the snapshot. I don't know where the property came from or anything else.
Right.
But he invited my grandmother to go with him on this trip, and she said, "Well, I couldn't do that unless we're married." We're talking, I don't know, the 1910s or something, so totally appropriate.
Right.
And so they got married. But again, I only know that. She said they did.
Right.
Boom, nothing about the wedding, never heard a word. So they're married, they go to California, and
that's a big trip, too, at that age.
Oh, big trip. And
yeah.
I'm guessing it was, I don't know if it was train or car, I just don't know.
Right.
But we know he had experience in sales, okay, in some sort of, I'm guessing that it was traveling sales of some sort. And he went to Long Beach, and it turned out this piece of property was an entire city block in the city of Long Beach, California.
Whoa.
And at that time, it was vacant. It was a vacant lot, and I say it was an undeveloped lot. It was not vacant.
Okay.
There was a tent city there, and again, you'd have to do some research that I haven't done about what tent cities, what time exactly that was. But it was not so different from a refugee camp, I suppose, and that people were just camping out on an empty lot and making do with what they could. I think it was probably during some sort of a recession or hard times, but a guy, an entrepreneur, had set himself up as the landlord there, and so he was keeping order and providing some sort of service and charging rent to these people, a small amount, but I assume, but it was rent. I mean, how much would you charge for a tent space, right?
True.
But my grandfather, being the entrepreneurial-minded person that he was, took this guy aside and said, okay, now we're partners. Because I own the land,
Right.
and I can go through some kind of process and kick everybody out, but what's the point? We're in the real estate business here.
Right.
And so now you and I are partners, and you keep doing what you're doing, but I'm going to, now as the owner, I get a percentage. I don't know what it was. And that's how this is from my grandmother, and that's how he got in the real estate business.
Cool.
So, sometime later, they were in the real estate business, and then there was a bust. There was some kind of a recession or a real estate bust, and then he was out of the business. Don't know the details.
Right.
Timing-wise, I don't know. But at some point, while he was in California, he saw that someone had taken the orange peels that were the waste product from the citrus industry. They squeeze the orange juice, and they've got this messy peel that's left behind. Well, because of the volatile oils in the peel, they could catch fire, believe it or not. If you put a big mound of them out somewhere, it would compost, and the heat of the composting, the heat was generated inside that, it could eventually catch fire, and apparently it was pretty hot fire. So they needed to get rid of that, and the way they got rid of it was taking it out into the cow pastures and spreading it out and letting the cows eat it. Except that that was ineffective to a degree because it only lasted so long and it rotted.
Right.
So somebody got the idea that to dry it, and they had these big rotary dryers that I guess they had some excess capacity. They weren't using it for something else, and so they ran this through, and oh my gosh, it worked. So he observed this somehow, and turned that into a business. And so he came through Texas and built a plant there, and then came to Central Florida and built a plant, drying the peel, chopping it up, and bagging it and selling it for cow food.
Wow.
And so that's how, and in the process, did research, continuing to try to develop the byproduct industry, or the number of byproducts that were available from the citrus industry, peel oil, etc. And today, the one of the biggest byproducts is called delimonene, and it has many, many uses. And the story of delimonene is another family's story.
Right.
But he was a pioneer in the citrus industry in that regard, although he's not credited publicly in terms of being, helping serve that industry in dealing with what was initially a waste product and turning it into a valuable byproduct. So over time, the processors, they have a lot of equipment, processing orange juice, right? Squeezing, and so they've got boilers, and they're generating steam and heat and all this, and so they figured out, well, we can just put that dryer right here next to all this other equipment. We've already got all this stuff. We'll just make the peel and you sell it for us. And so, over a period of years, we were gradually pushed out of the manufacturing part of it.
Right.
And so we closed down. It was a shrinkage, and that's kind of my father's arc in the business. As he, unfortunately, he ran one of the plants for a while in his early career, but the majority of his career was seeing that contraction and that shift from the manufacturing and shipping rail cars full of bags and stuff to just selling it as being a sales agent, using all the contacts and the network that they had built up.
And wasn't it shipped overseas too?
Eventually, corn is cheap here in the United States. We grow a lot of it, and not so much in Europe. They don't have as much farmland in Europe, and so it's much more expensive. And apparently it was cheaper to ship the peel, the citrus pulp, to Europe than to ship corn to Europe. I don't know, but that's where most of it goes, is what I was told.